I would like to ask my panelists what their inspiration was behind pursuing MBA. Divya, would you like to go first?
Yeah, sure, guys. So for me, I started cat prep pretty late, but largely most of my inspiration around it was that while I was having a job offer in like a strategy management consulting sort of role, I had no formal education to back it up. Also, inside the industry, more often than not, if you want smooth progress inside a role like let's say consulting or most of the other non-core roles, for a faster and smoother progress, usually an MBA is a requirement. So I thought, why not, give a try at CAT and see how it goes. So yeah, largely that's it.
Thank you, Divya. Aniket, would you like to go next?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, my MTech was in financial engineering, so I was interested in finance right from the beginning of my journey in KGP. But the kind of roles that come in finance at campus are not I would say good enough. So for that, you need a formal education in finance, business, strategy, operations, those sort of things. And these are the kind of things which I liked in my KGP days. So this is exactly what is taught in an MBA. So it was a very direct choice for me to go for an MBA. So I started CAD prep, and then what happened.
All right. Thank you, Aniket. Ratul, please share your insights with us.
So basically, after my first year, I actually explored a lot of aspects, basically a lot of subjects in KGP like SG, ML, and finance. I took a bit of courses in finance also. And after that, I think that finance and strategy roles actually would suffice me. So basically, during my internship rounds, I couldn't get shortlisted for most of the companies, for most of the business analysts or the finance roles. But finally, I did my intern at LTI as a business analyst, but and that basically provoked me to give cat, and then I gave cat, and that is my basically inspiration for doing an MBA.
Thank you, Ratul. Now, moving on.
So knowing the structure of the exam is one of the primary key to ace the coveted CAT examination. I would kindly request the panelists to throw some light on this topic. Aniket, would you like to begin?
Let Ratul answer this.
Okay. So basically this year the structure was of 66 questions with most probably 24 in VRC, 20 in DILR and 22 in quant. And in the previous year it was actually of 76 questions. So basically, and prior to that year it was 100 questions in 3 hours. So basically the structure of the exam is actually changing, but I think that for the next year it will be around 66 questions or like that in 2 hours time only, because in most of the cases Ahmedabad has actually set the structure, and since this year Ahmedabad conducted the examination, so I think the structure will be similar to that only, with 24 in VRC, 20 around in DILR and 22 in quant. And basically for each section, it is not like our JEE mains or something like that where we can attempt any section at any point of time. Here 40 minutes are dedicated for each section, and you have to score the required marks or the cutoff. Basically you have to clear the cutoff within the 40 minutes only. So I would tell Divyam or Aniket to elaborate more if they want to.
No, that's it. The key difference this year was that last year many people complained that there was not enough time to solve all the questions. So they reduced the questions by 10. But then it also creates a problem that you don't get enough questions to choose from. You don't have to solve everything. First of all, it's not JE, it's very different from that. So you have to be very strategic about which questions you are going to solve. If you are getting less questions to choose from, you are getting less choices. So that creates some problems. That's the only difference from previous year. Other than that, the structure will not be same next year. The time period may vary. It goes from 2 hours to 3 hours, 3 hours to 2 hours. So never focus during your prep. Never focus on the pattern of the exam. Just like JE Advanced, it is exactly like that only.
Yeah, so that's right. So last couple of years, this has been like 2 hours. Prior to that, they always had a 3 hour, 100 question sort of setup. So that's one heads up that we would like to give you. Other than that, just little more detail on what the sections entail. So VARC stands for verbal ability and reading comprehension. So there you have reading comprehension based questions, and also like paragraph jumbles and pick the odd one out, or things like that. Next, DILR is data interpretation and logical reasoning. So in data interpretation, you may be given data in the form of tables, graphs, and you have to solve sets based on those questions, sets of 4 to 6 questions. And logical reasoning also, there are sets, but it's sort of logically connected statements given to you, and you have to make deductions and solve the questions. And the last section is quantitative ability, which is by and large class 9th 10th level mathematics.
Yeah, so thank you for the insights. So moving on.
I would like to ask my panelist, what is the right time to start the preparation? Could you please share your experiences? Divyam?
So I'm the worst person to answer this question because I started my prep after Diwali, which is October, and like you still manage it. So in the worst case, 1.5 month also works out. But in my opinion, probably if you are like very serious about CAT and you're 100% sure, then I think ideally the best thing would be if you are in your pre-final year, give CAT once in your pre-final year, just because they don't ask you for a proof of education or things like that. So you can just try appear, or whatever prep you can do in a limited amount of time, you can do that and appear once. And in your final year, you can usually start along the timeline of most coaching institutes. They start their test series in April, May, so you can start with that. And yeah, give your like actual final attempt in your final year during November, October.
Thank you, Divyam. Aniket, we would love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I usually tell people that 6 months are needed. I took 6 months to prepare. So 3 months I took the initial 3 months from, I would say, when the internship starts around April, May to when the internship ends, uh, July or August or something. Till then, you can solve Arun Sharma books or any other books you prefer to cover whatever theory you think you might miss. Because when you're solving some questions, then you think that, अरे क्या पता इसका कोई formula होगा, I don't know. So you should not be thinking that when you are solving the test series. Most of the test series and courses start in August of all the institutes. So you should finish all the books by July, then start with the test series in August. Take at least two out of the three big institutes, Time, Career Launcher, and IMS. At least two out of these three. All three you can't manage because the slots will clash. Only one will not be enough because you need to give at least 30 to 40 marks. And then you keep solving questions, increase the frequency of mocks till in November you're solving one mock every other day. And this is like comprehensive. इससे ज़्यादा you can't do anything. You can't start 2 years earlier and then think it will help. You will forget everything. This is the maximum amount of effective prep you can do for CAT. So yeah, of course, lesser months also works depending on your capability, but this is the ideal one.
Thank you, Aniket. Ratul, please share your experience with us.
Okay, so I took the decision of giving the CAT right in December 2020. So basically, I took coaching from Time actually, and but that time you actually know that before, like it was around 11 months before the actual exam. So I didn't do my preparations during that time. I only gave basically in the month of March or April they started the mocks. So basically, I only gave the 2 or 3 mocks during that time, and after my internship ended in July, I started the full-fledged preparation. I even didn't sit for placements. So basically, I did the preparation during all the August, September, October, November month. So I think 4 months is quite enough, and I do suggest others to prepare in those 4 months only after one completes his or her internship. And I think that is quite a lot of time to prepare for CAT only.
Yeah, I would like to add one thing based on what Ratul mentioned. So he didn't even sit for placements. I had a PPO, and Divyam also had a placement offer pretty early in his semester, right, Divyam? So,
Yeah.
what I would say is that you need to decide whether you are giving CAT very seriously if it's your final year. Do not think it's a very easy game or it will take very less time. You might be very brilliant and you might do it in only 1 month, but if you are an average student just like I was, you will need to put in a lot of time and you will need to let go of a lot of many things. I had a PPO, I had nothing to do literally in my autumn semester, so all I did was solve mocks. That is not the case for 99% of the students. Those who are giving CAT mostly are sitting for placements also, and the CAT happens 2 or 3 days before the day one. So be very conscious of what you're choosing, and if you are 100% sure, if it is your pre-final year, try to bag as good as a internship as possible. Get a PPO. That part is secured, then you can go full 100% on the CAT prep. Otherwise, you are in two minds, and then it will hurt your percentile. I can guarantee you, it will hurt your percentile. So please do not take the decision lightly. If you are 100% committed like Ratul, then you can skip placements.
No,
Otherwise,
Aniket, I too had a PPO from LTI, and that's why I
again,
focused
yeah,
actually.
yeah, again.
So basically,
So
you should have a backup
you
because CAT
must
is
have a
very
backup.
unpredictable
You
thing.
must have a backup. So you choose one set wrong in DILR and you don't even clear the cutoff. You choose one set right and you're sitting and giving a panel discussion on CAT. So that's the difference between, that's what happens in CAT. Please do not take the decision very lightly.
Thank you, Aniket and Ratul. Now we'll move on to the next question.
Now, panelists, would you like to brief the audience on the preparation strategy and resources, whether it be online or offline, and coaching institute requirement? Ratul, would you like to begin?
So as I have said that I have actually taken the time coaching. So basically in my December only I took up the coaching, and it was basically a online and offline mixed mode. So if I prefer to go for offline classes, as I was in my home only and the coaching institute was like just 5 to 6 kilometers away from my home. So basically I did go to the coaching institute on some days, and for rest days I did the online thing. And for time, I can say that basically the test series will start from March or April end, and the frequency will be very low during those time. And by the end of maybe September, the frequency will increase to once to weekly. And I would say that if you are thinking of any other resources or coaching that you guys are thinking, then IMS and Career Launcher are obviously there. But I think for if someone is basically saying this panel discussion from a professional, as a professional, working professional, then I think that iQuanta is something which is actually quite effective because its classes are planned for working professionals only, and they basically start from after 8 p.m. or something. So if you are a working professional, then I would suggest that you can choose iQuanta, or else if you are just in your pre-final year or final year, then you can give, basically you can take any of the institutes, Time, Career Launcher or IMS.
Thank you, Ratul. Divyam, would you go next?
Yeah, sure. So you have asked us two questions here: preparation strategy and resources. So let me answer about resources first. So resources, I think, would be in two parts. One is your coaching institutes, the other is test series. So for coaching, I have already mentioned that I started pretty late, so I did not have a time for a full throttle coaching. But I would highly recommend a course called VARC 1000. This is launched by Mr. Jijo Srinivasan at Career Launcher. Uh, I at least improved 5 or 6 questions solely because of that course. So that is one bit about the coaching. I'm not very sure if you need coaching for the other parts or not. Depending on, you can give some previous years mocks, and if you really feel the need for a coaching, then you can go for it. Uh, Among the three big names about the test series, I would recommend one IMS and either one of CL or Career Launcher or Time, and that's because IMS I felt was a notch above CAT level, so you're never complacent about CAT that way, because others, sometimes if your mocks are a little bit easier, then you start feeling overconfident or complacent. But IMS was something that kept me grounded because I couldn't score very high there. Other than that, Time or Career Launcher, equally difficult. You can pick one of them. About preparation strategy, for me, I did all classes with the VRC 1000 and did everything that they asked me to do during that course for VRC. So preparation strategy, so subject wise, would be for VRC. I will suggest read Aeon SS. There's this free website called Aeon SS. It will help you increase your reading speed, also comprehension. The complexity of sentences and words is similar to CAT level. So do that. Other than that, for DILR, I would say solve you know, cat level or higher than cat level sets from anywhere. Could be Arun Sharma books, previous years, test series, anything like that. For quant, um, go through the syllabus once, because there may be things you might have studied during 9, 10th NTSC KVPY days. Things like linear races, circular races. There are some formulae that and allegations वगैरह इसमें you can apply formulae and it makes your life easier. So do learn those formulae, and if you're sitting in IIT, I think if you are through with the syllabus once very quickly for quant, it should work for you. Other than that, take your mocks very very seriously. So even though I had very less time, I was able to manage like to give one mock every day. So I had 30, 40 mocks. Analyze your mocks very well for the strategy bit. Analyze them very, very well. Every single question, if it comes to you again, you should be able to solve it in like record amount of time or something. Every set in DLR, you should be very, very serious about it. And most of these coaching institutes have a very advanced way of to help you analyze mocks, where you can figure out what are your weak sections, what are your strong sections. So keep a space in your day where you practice your strong section, so that it remains like strong chapters inside each section, so that it remains strong, but also parallelly keep working on your weaker sections. And so basically do take that deep dive analysis by the coaching mocks very seriously.
Thank you so much, Divyam. Aniket, please share your insights.
Yeah, so I would say that first of all, before I start telling anything about my prep, you should take whatever any of us tells with a pinch of salt, because this is not an this is not a knowledge based exam. It's an aptitude exam. So the strategy will depend a lot on who you are, what you have done till now. So I personally, so first of all, before you start the prep, well in advance, you should try solving some previous year papers of CAT, and you can see in how much water you are. So now going section wise, uh, uh, I personally don't recommend joining any coaching. First of all, because you won't have too much time to attend them diligently, and second of all, you don't need it. It is an overkill joining any institute full time for coaching. Again, it will depend on person to person. For quant, you can solve Arun Sharma books. It you can consider it as quant Bible. Solve the read the theory part, solve the LOD one questions. That's it. For DLR, try solving as many questions as possible. DLR is still a mystery to me. I don't know how I scored, how much I scored there. And finally, for VRC, I'm assuming all of the people who are listening in are engineers and from Kharagpur only. VRC is what will kill you. I can guarantee you, VRC will kill you if you take it lightly. VRC kills all engineers. That is the only section that is used to segregate engineers among themselves. So you are at an inherent disadvantage against someone who has been reading books since they have been born. I was one of such people, so I did not need any extra prep in VRC. It was like second nature to me. But I have seen people struggling. They are not even able to see the whole paper by the time I'm able to complete the paper, complete the VRC section. So read as much as you can from as early as possible. If you are a second year or a third year listening to this, start reading 1, 2, 3 hours a day English. Any kind of English is fine. Books, movies, novels, whatever. Buy a Kindle, start downloading books, keep reading. Anything is fine. But start reading English. And in the end, if you think you are not still good enough by August of the cat year, then VRC 1000 is a very very good course. I highly recommend it. As Divyam said, take that course, it will increase your marks by anything. So take that course in the end. If you think you're good enough, you don't need that course, because then it will just be repetitive. They will be explaining what grammar is when you already have read thousands of books, so it's not needed then. Otherwise, yeah, that's it for VRC. Please take extra care on VRC. It will kill you, guarantee.
Thank you, Aniket. It was pretty insightful. So moving on,
We already had a many discussion on this in the discussion before, but I would still like my panelists to shed some light on this question. How did the placements preparations go along with the placements? How hard was it to juggle between the two simultaneously? Divyam, would you like to go first?
Yeah, so as all three of us said, we sort of had a PPO, and I did sit for some off-campus interviews, but they also were wrapped up by like September first week, if I'm not wrong. So for us, it was a very different experience. But I can tell you some experience of friends who did sit in placements. So ideally, if you're taking CAT very seriously, then it might be very difficult for you to like prepare for a lot of profiles during placements, especially profiles which require a lot of hard knowledge, like say SD or finance type profiles. Or even if you are, I would recommend that if you are giving CAT, don't go for more than two profiles. It's going to be extremely NP hard manage placements along with CAT. Ideally, take profiles where your preparation for CAT and preparation for the profile somewhat have some degree of correlation between them. So profiles like consulting, where you do have a like quant based test in a few of the companies. Profiles like business analyst, or you can pick maybe one hard profile like finance, because again it does enjoy some correlation with your CAT exam. But profiles like machine learning or finance or yeah, software might be too hard if you pick more than one of them. So one profile where hard knowledge is required, preferably one among analytics or finance and not SD, because SD is more of a full time you have to devote towards it. And one profile you can pick from among consulting or business analyst, and slightly lighter profiles which have some correlation with CAT. Then also I mean, sitting for placements, you might have to compromise a little bit on your CAT score, but really depends on person to person. Some people struggled a lot and ended up not getting a very good percentile, but some people took it really smooth and they did AS placements and CAT together. So sort of depends on you and how seriously you take your mocks.
Thank you, Divyam. Ratul, we would love to hear from you.
That was pretty much, I think. So basically, as I have decided earlier only that I will be giving the CAT in 2021. So basically, I tried uh, quite hard to get the PPO, and basically I secured it at the end, and basically I didn't have to think with the placements.
Thank you, Ratul. Aniket, would you like to add something?
No, nothing to add.
Okay, now moving on to the next question.
So proceeding with our discussion, panelists, would you like to tell the CAT aspirants present here about how to attempt the exam strategically? Would any of you like to begin?
Yeah.
Aniket, you can go
So
ahead. Okay, Divya.
yeah, Aniket, you go ahead. You do best for it.
Okay, so strategy wise, uh, as I told earlier, you don't have to solve all the questions. Please don't try to solve all the questions. Uh, the negative is one third, so it weighs very heavily on your marks. Uh, During mocks, also you should analyze very heavily that how much negative you are getting and try to minimize it as much as possible. An ideal number of questions solved would be like I will tell you a rough number. VRC solve all of them. Target all. I mean, it's just like passage. There will be a passage you'll have to read and tick one option. It doesn't take time, doesn't take any knowledge, doesn't take any hard or easy set. You have to solve all the questions. In quant, you can out of 22, I think I solved 16 or 17 of them and got almost all of them right. So it's not about solving all the questions; it's about getting them right. And you can try a series wise approach that go through the questions once, solve as much as you can, then come back again, something like that. You'll have you'll have more than enough time to develop these strategies during the mocks. Take the mocks as if they are the actual CAT exam, and try to polish your strategy by the time you are sitting for CAT. And DLR, it's all about set selection. In our paper, there were 4 sets. Three were pretty much easily solvable. I was in slot 3. One set was like, if you touch that set, if you go into that set, your CAT exam is over. That's it. Pack your bags and go home. You need to learn how to identify those kind of cancer sets. I call it a cancer set. Your exam will be over if you touch that set. I know people who were scoring consistently much above me in the mocks. They touched that set thinking that सब तो आता है कर लेंगे ये set भी, and they bombed the exam. They got 99.9 something percentile in both VRC and quant, and they fucked up DLR. Didn't even get a call from any IIM. On the other hand, there was me. I knew all I had to do was clear the cutoff. of DLR percentile मुझे बाकी दोनों सेक्शन से मिल जाएगा. I knew that. So I was defensive. I was like आसान सेट करो, थोड़ा बहुत तो मार्क्स आए. And in that way, I did not touch that set, solved the other 3 ones, and my best percentile is in DLR only. So yeah, be careful of set selection in DLR. Please finesse that in your mocks.
Thank you, Aniket. Would any of the other two panelists like to add something to what Aniket said?
Yeah. So before I talk about strategy, I would say use your mocks very wisely to prepare your own strategy because it has to be custom made. So try different strategies during mocks, see what works, see what does not. I think that would be best for you. But what my experience was that for VARC, like have a hunch between VA and RC and what is your like stronger area, what you can. So ideally, I would also say that similar to Aniket, try to target like 20 if out 25 or 26 out of 26 questions in VRC and have a hunch between VA and RC and whatever you can solve faster with higher accuracy. For most people that is RC, but like you may be very good with English, so VA also might just be the thing for you. So ideally if you have that in you, you know, you have read a lot of books and you're very good in English, then I think go for VA because VA you can solve very large number of questions very quickly. But again, accuracy is a issue for most people in VA. For RCs, pick your RCs very so analyze your mocks and understand. So RCs may also come from different domains, right? Literature, history, science. So and you might have comfort with some of them, you might not have comfort with some of them. So understand your area of comfort, target those RCs first. You may be comfortable with certain length of words, certain type of questions. So when you're giving the paper, skim through the RC very quickly, look at the question and the options, and whichever question has very straightforward type, whichever RC has straightforward type questions, very factual, which you can pick from the RC and answer. Try to prioritize solving those RCs first and have a round approach. One round, two round, three round, and ideally 2 to 3 rounds should be it. For DILR, for me, that is the make or break section for me because I was reasonably okay in VRC. Quant was good, but DILR again, set selection is the most important thing. Even someone was consistently topped in mocks, if they pick up the wrong set, just like Aniket said, it's over. Cat is over for them. So again, understand your area of strength in DILR. Again, DILR also has chapters like games and tournaments or quant based reasoning or pipe connection questions and things like that. So intuitively you may be strong in one or two of them, and it doesn't mean that you start picking that set itself. So a combination of the length of the set, how many constraints are there, and which chapter it comes from, based on these three formulate like a strategy on which set to pick first. And again, about target strategy, try to solve around 75% of the set, whatever the length of the length of the paper is. And if you're very strong in DLR, then only then you can target all the sets and doing all the questions. For quant again, uh, round approach worked best for me. So I would skim through the paper once, whichever question I find like Lappo questions or very easy questions, I would just solve them immediately. And whichever questions I thought I can solve, but it will take more than 45 seconds or 1 minute, I used to mark for review. And whichever questions I was not sure if I'll be able to solve or not, I just left them. So in my second round, I would solve all the mark for review questions, and then I would do a third round for the questions I had not marked earlier to see what if I'm able to solve any of them or not. But usually, like solving the whole paper at once did not work out for me in quant.
Yeah, thank you, Divyam. Ratul, would you like to add something?
Okay, so I will consider myself as an engineer who is basically weak in the VRC section. So unlike Aniket, I don't basically read books that much. So for me, the VRC section was mostly dependent on the RCs because that is actually because by giving, if you are giving 30 to 40 mock tests, then you basically get a hang of the exam and hang of the options, like how basically the author or basically the question paper setter is actually trying to, like, what is basically they are trying to test. So I basically got that intuitive nature, and so basically I gave my exam, and it was basically a lucky set in the slot 3. Most of the sets were basically from science fiction, and so I basically like to read them, and I actually scored a pretty good enough number in VRC. So basically for VRC, my strategy was that I should target all the questions, basically 24 out of 24 questions, Basically, I have tried this strategy in several mocks. Like I have seen how much is my accuracy to how much is the attempt questions, and I found that whenever I have attempted the whole paper, then only I have secured the most number of marks. So basically, I went on with that strategy only. For DILR, as everyone have said, that basically it is a test of selection. Whichever set you are selecting, if you are able to solve everything out of that, basically you have to solve only two sets out of the four. So basically, if you can solve any two sets out of the four, then you can easily clear the cutoff and actually get above 95 to 98 percentile. Basically, I could solve one full set, and in the second set, I actually fumbled. Though I think I didn't pick that set which Aniket was mentioning in slot 3. I think he was mentioning about the javelin throw set. So
Yeah, yeah,
basically,
yeah.
I didn't pick up that set, but it took actually quite a lot of time in solving my second set also, and I could solve only 50% out of that. So basically, if you are selecting the set and then able to do all the things of that set, then it's okay. And if not, then it's basically a setback in the exam, and you won't even actually qualify the cutoff, clear the cutoff. For quant in slot 3, I think it was a bit difficult than the other two slots. So basically, I also did a whole round approach. So basically, I went through the question paper once, and then I started from the questions which I think that it can be solved by me, but it would take some time. So I solved those questions, and that's all I think. Basically, the strategy basically depends on how you are. Basically, it is like custom made for everyone according to the mocks. So if you give 30 to 40 mocks, then you basically come up with a strategy which will be beneficial for you. And one thing I would like to say that for me, as I am basically a bit weak in VRC, so I took a 2 minutes break before starting the DILR section, and any of you can do that thing. I know 2 minutes is a lot of time in a test of 40 minutes, but you can take that time to again strategize well so that you can actually clear the DILR section. That's all.
Also, one last thing I would like to add about the quant section. So all the questions are like three men did it in 5 hours. How much time will 5 men take? So we are all engineers, right? We have solved these questions earlier. So don't take it on your ego कि लाइन से करेंगे सब करेंगे 40 मिनट में नहीं होगा बहुत बुरी हालत हो जाएगी so please drop that ego from your mind as soon as possible right in the second or third mocks you will score very bad I scored like 60-70 percentiles in my first or second mocks so I knew ये तो नहीं चलेगा so I'm telling you in advance don't take it on your ego it's all about strategy and focus on the strategy.
Thank you, panelists. Now moving on.
We also received some questions through our registration form, so we'll take those frequently asked questions.
Many aspirants must often find themselves asking, why should one pursue an MBA? So, panelists, would any of you like to take up this question?
I think this is very similar to the first question, the motivation behind MBA. So, so why should one pursue? If you want to list down all the questions, then going by first principles, let's see what MBA offers you. So, MBA can offer you a placement in a non-tech profile. So, one reason could be that most of the profiles here in KGP are tech profiles. You want to get placed in a non-tech profile, so that's one reason. The second reason could be for if anyone is working, then the reason could be that they want a break from job or they don't find their progression to be as fast as they would like it, so then they are going for an MBA. And I don't know, the third reason could be that there is, some aspects of campus life that you have not touched upon, and you have the liberty or the money and the time to do an MBA, and you want to touch upon, get those skills from, simply the aspect of living in hostels and having a campus life. So that's a very first world type of reason, but might be a reason for someone. So ideally, yeah, those are the reasons to do an MBA now.
Thank you, Divya. Would any of the other two panelists like to add something?
So it's basically discussed earlier, so it's fine for me.
Oh, okay, thank you. Now moving on.
There are many criteria apart from the CAT percentile to get into IIMs and top B schools. Is there any weightage for prior work experience? Would any of the panelists like to take up this question?
Yeah, there's a lot of weightage on past work experience, but you have to think of it as a trade-off. Right now, you are in college, you are studying. Uh, Taking out 2-3 hours of time from your daily schedule will not be very tough. Rather, it will be very easy. I found it very easy. I didn't have anything to do. But when you are on a job, you will be working from 9 to 6, 7, 8 o'clock, and then you will be dead tired. You won't be able to do anything. So it's a trade-off. There are some points for work X, but that those points can be nullified using a better CAT percentile, and it varies from B school to B school. So, like for example, it's very tough for a fresher to crack IIM Bangalore. They absolutely hate freshers. But on the other hand, it's easier to get into IIM Ahmedabad and IIM Calcutta. And there's also weightage of 10th score, 12th score, and your undergrad marks also. So the only thing about WorkX is that there is a trade-off. Other than that, other things you can't change. So try to get as much percentile. If you're getting 100 percentile in CAT and you're getting an average interview also, you'll get into all IIMs. So you should be targeting 100 percentile. 9 people got 100 percentile this year, and anyone who is getting more than 99.7 or 99.8 percentile could have been that 100 percentile. So you should be targeting the 100 percentile score, and every other factor will be nullified by that.
Thank you, Aniket. Would any of the other two panelists like to add something?
Yeah, I think he covered.
I'm sorry.
No, he covered.
Okay,
Information.
thank you. No, now moving on to the next question.
Next, does having a degree in MBA help an individual in his or her startup? Any of the panelists would like to answer this question?
Yeah. So right now we have not pursued an MBA. So take this with a grain of salt. But I think there are two aspects of doing a startup. One is the fundraising, and the other is running your day-to-day PNL in the startup. So for fundraising, pedigree somewhat helps in an Indian setup. So if you have like a ISB, IM, or some good B school on your CV, then people who fund your startups could be sort of investors are more likely to trust you more, so that's some sort of help. And I think an MBA degree provides you a formal knowledge experience of various facets of running a startup, like operations or strategy or finance and marketing and sales, so which you might not have had earlier. So if you feel underconfident that you are not good with one or more of these skills and you have the liberty of time and money on your hands, then yes, having an MBA with to varying extents for different people will help you with your startup and so.
Thank you, Divyam. Would any of the other two panelists like to add something? Thank you.
Basically, I would just say that this is not mandatory, but if you have it on your side, then it's a good thing.
Thank you. Now moving on.
So this question, I'm sure many of the CAT aspirants would like an answer to. How can one improve his or her English to get a good CAT score? So I would like Ratul to go first, please.
Well, I would say that luck worked for me, but basically you should give mocks. Like I have said that I have given around 30 to 40 mocks. So basically, if you get a hang of the RCs and how the question paper basically sets the question and how they want to get you in the trap of the wrong options, then that is also one of the ways. And other than that, you should read the editorial parts of the newspapers or some books or on essays like that.
Thank you, Ratul. Aniket, please share your experience with us.
Uh, Unlike the other two sections, English you can't do anything if the time has gone. Like if you're giving CAT this year, then all you can do is read essays and take VRC 1000 course. That's it. If there is still time left, I would suggest, even if you're not giving CAT, then you should subscribe to some newsletters, read newspapers, keep reading books. I mean, there is so much knowledge in books when people don't even read books. So if you are regularly reading books, VRC section will be a cakewalk. You will complete the section in 20-25 minutes, and then you will be sitting watching other people's face chal kya raha hai exam mein. And that will give you so much confidence. Then you will select the right set. I'm telling you, in DLR also. So read as much as you can, and VRC will create the difference. Please do not take it lightly. I am repeating it for the 10th time now at least.
Thank you, Aniket. Divyam, please share your
Yeah.
experience with us.
Yeah, my answer is also similar. If you are in second or third year, read as many books as possible. And if you are in your final year, just take ARC 1000 and pray to God.
If anybody wants, I can share a list of the newsletters I used to read, and I'm still reading. You need to take out 1.5 hours in at the beginning of your day. Read at least 10-15 newsletters. You will literally know anything that is happening in the world, and it will help with your English, and it will help you be a better engineer. I would say there is so much to know, and people don't know shit. So you should read a lot.
Thank you, Aniket and Divyam. And we would love to have that list. So now we'll move to the next part of this discussion.
So now we are opening the chat box. Audience, please feel free to post your unresolved query in the chat box. We'll take up your questions from there. So here we have our first question. How much weightage does 10th and 12th marks have? Would any of the panelists like to answer this up?
So it's different for different IIMs. Like a bare minimum of combined 10th and 12th would be, I think, 15 to 20% for your interview call. And for your final selection, bare minimum, I think, would be anywhere between 5 and 10%. Um, for on the maximum side, like IIMs Indore, I think, has close to 40-45% for 10th and 12th combined for interview call. And in your final selection also, I think 15 to 20% on maximum side. So it's different for different big schools.
Yeah, so thank you for that, Divyam. We can go ahead with our few more questions.
So for
Audience, if you
normalization
have
also, I think
more
it
questions.
depends on yeah. So for normalization also depends on IIM to IIM. Some IIMs have a very like standard way कि 80-90% के ऊपर है तो इतने marks, इसके ऊपर है तो इतने marks. Some people have it normalized. So I think IIM Bangalore has a normalization criteria added to it. IIM Ahmedabad I think does not. So it depends on IIM to IIM.
Yeah, thank you so much, Divyam.
I have added the list in the chat box.
Thank you, Aniket. So audience, you can put your doubts
So we
and
will
queries
wait.
in the chat box.
We will wait for a couple of minutes.
Basically, another thing that I would like to share is that if you are confident with your mocks and all that, if you have scored pretty much well in your mocks, and in the main exam, if you are thinking that maybe I am not able to solve all these quant questions while I was able to solve these quant questions in my mocks, so basically don't get uh, like terrified or anything, and just do how much you can. Because if you have actually done pretty well with your preparation, and if you are struggling with your quants or any other section VRC or DILR in the exam hall, then just think that maybe other candidates who are actually appearing for the test are also struggling with those things. And since there is a normalization thing which is applicable in CAT in the slots, so basically don't worry with like if your set is tough or if your quant is tough, like if you haven't scored well enough in your quant, then after normalization it will be quite okay. So basically, if one of the sets the quant is hard and the VRC is easy, while on the other set the VRC is hard and quant is easy, then it will get normalized up to like how much the candidates have scored and that kind of thing. So basically, don't get terrified and anything like that sort, and just give your exam smoothly.
Yeah, one more thing that was not covered till now. So IIM Ahmedabad has a deferred admission policy. You can defer your admission after securing a seat for 1 year or 2 years. So any of you who thinks that they don't want to again study for 2 more years just after your engineering, then you can try for that. I started my prep keeping that in mind only, and I have actually applied for the deferral also. I'll get the confirmation till May end. But if you think that you can convert IIM Ahmedabad and you don't want to study, then keep that goalpost in mind and get that 100% as well. That is also a good goalpost to keep.
Thank you, Aniket and Ratul, for sharing your insights. And we'll take up this one last question from the audience. And the question is there a weightage or importance for PORs that we have done in college? Any of the panelists would like to take up this question?
So there is no formal or direct weightage in like most P schools I know of. I think if I don't know if you would be interested, but there is a college called SP Jain, which is some one of the good colleges, which do give a profile based call. So there you have to submit your CV and might have a direct weightage there. But as far as IIMs are concerned, I think most of the IIMs in some way or the other, once you get the interview call, up till that point they definitely do not have a weightage, but after getting the call they ask you to fill out a form in some way, or direct or indirect ways they will ask you to fill up about your PORs for most of the colleges. And during the interview it might come up, so you might score points there. And it's really a black box how they give interview scores, so they might as well look at your form along with your interview and then give you your scores. So like in nutshell, there is no direct weightage, but there is some, there you can say that there is some really small indirect weightage. Yeah,
Thank you,
and
Divyam.
on the
Yeah.
strategy bit, there's just one more thing I wanted to add before we drop off is about giving the mocks. So CAT exams happens in 2 or 3 slots, and they are they are very fixed about their timings. So you can look up the timings on the internet. So when you're giving the mocks, try to keep yourself active, or try to give your mocks in. So coaching institutes will give you a free window of like 2 or 3 days to give the mocks, but do give the mocks during the specific timings of when the slots are arranged for the CAT exams, and make your mind prepared for all the three slots. So for me, I was luckily not in slot one, but the morning times usually did not work out for me when I started my preparation. So whenever I gave my mock in that 8 to 10 a.m. slot, I did not score well, especially in DILR, because you have to be very very active to solve DILR. So from the very get go, when you start preparing, make sure that early morning slot, afternoon slot, evening slot, all three you are comfortable.
Also, yeah, one last thing, as Divyam mentioned. Uh, so when I was preparing, I used to think, uh, what will it matter if I'm less active at the exam window? I mean, kitna hi fark padega, something like that. Anything and everything we have said, if you take any of it lightly, you will again be sitting for CAT the next year. I am telling you, all these things make a difference. You need to be at your absolute peak best during the CAT exam. If not sleeping during a 2 hour window when you know your slot is 4 to 6 p.m., if that helps, you should not slack off on that. Please do not take it lightly. Everything will affect your percentile. That's the difference between a 99.5 and a 99.9, and a call from all three IMABC and a call from nowhere. So please keep that in mind. Do not take anything
Yes.
lightly.
So when I was in campus, I like the word was that for IITians and engineers, CAT is a very very easy exam, and you can chill and give it, and everyone makes it, and things like that. But during my short phase of preparation, I realized that मतलब ऐसा बिल्कुल भी नहीं है. People from our own campus, you would see them at 100 percentile, you would also see them at like 97, 98, very similar people. So CAT is really not easy. And even if someone calls a 99.6 percentile a good percentile, you might still not get any of the IMABC calls at 99.6. So might be, for someone or a lot of people, 99.2, 3, 4, 5, 6 might be easy percentiles to get in some way. But like the real target percentile, as Aniket said, should be very close to 100. That's when you can be a slightly relaxed that there is a lot of uncertainty associated with your writing tests and interviews and things. At 100 percentile is only when you can like slightly be reasonably confident that you'll at least make it to one of IMABC. So cat is tough, it is very tough, you have to work hard. Might not be as taxing as JE, but it is still, you have to put in a lot of effort to make sure that you are around that 100 percentile mark.
Yeah, just to give a ballpark idea, anything below 99, I think IIM Calcutta lowest call this year was 99.68. I'm 6 something, and I'm talking from the point of view of a general engineering male. There are points for everything once you start ticking off these things. For a general engineering male, anything below 99.68, you won't get an IIM ABC call. Uh, from 99.68 to I think 99.95 is the gray area. If they are feeling well, they will give you a call. If they are not feeling well, they will randomly not give you a call and you won't be able to do anything. Only above 99.95, you know that you will 100% convert it unless you bomb the interview really, really bad. After 99.95, you need to give them a reason to reject you. Below that, you will need to give them 100 reasons to select you. So keep that in mind. CAT percentile makes all the difference.
Thank you so much for sharing your answers with us.
Thank you for the meaningful and enlightening discussion. Panelists, is there some final advice you would like to give to the CAT aspirants present here? Ratul, would you like to start?
So basically, if you are going to say about the preparation time, so basically now everyone is doing their internships or their projects under professors or under their own departments or from some other departments. So after that, if you are actually thinking of giving the CAT wholeheartedly, then you should start your prep just after completing your internships or projects, whatever you are going on. And you should actually focus on giving mocks. If you are able to give 50 to 60 mocks, then it's very good. So the more number of mocks you give, the more your confidence will build up. And if you are thinking that no, I will just give 10, 12 mocks and then go to the exam and ace the exam, then it won't be that much easy for someone. Like maybe someone extraordinary can go with only 10 to 12 mocks. So that's the thing. But other than that, I would recommend that anything between 30 to 40 or 40 to 50 mocks is well enough for someone, for any aspirant. And uh, like if you are not able to score well in CAT, like if that's a possibility, then there are exams like other exams also, like ZAT, which is also a well-known exam. Like I would say that CAT and ZAT are only the two exams which basically you need to ace it. And other than that, I won't recommend giving other exams.
Don't give
So
other
that's,
exams. Not recommend. Please do not give any other exams.
yeah, so that's the thing. Like, and for that also, if you are only securing a place in Accelerate Jamshedpur, then only it's basically a match with all the top 6 IIMs, or else I won't say that you should go with. You should repeat it in the next year. That's the thing from my side.
Yeah, one last thing I would say is there is no more advice to offer. You can always reach out to any of us after the session. We'll be happy to help you out. Please do not start sending us questions and telling us solve kaise karna hai. That's not our job. We'll give you one or two line answers and then we won't respond after that. So please don't do that. Other than that, best of luck to everyone who is appearing for CAT this year. I want at least 500% LS from KGP. So that's the goal post you need to target. And yeah, best of luck to everyone.
Yep, same. My final advice would be that don't believe rumors. CAT is a difficult exam even for IITians and IIT-KGPians. So work hard for it. I think you're smart enough to make best use of whatever advice you've given so far and whatever advice you can get personally later on. So yeah, all the best and see you at IIM sometime.
Thank you so much, panelists. So, coming to the conclusion of the seminar,
Coming to the conclusion of the seminar, first we would like to thank the panelists, Divyam, Aniket, and Ratul for giving us your precious time and sharing your valuable insights with us. We would also like to thank the audience for being so pleasant and active during the seminar. That's all from our side. I hope the seminar was good and insightful for each and every one of you. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.